I now call to order the 23rd meeting of the 61st session, March 6, 2019 at 7:02 p.m. Moving into Section 2, roll call. When I say your name, please say present or here. Senator Akhir. Senator Balderrama. Senator Balzer.
Here.
Senator Ale. Senator Berth.
Present.
Senator Bogle.
Present.
Senator Brumley.
Here.
Senator Enns.
Present.
Senator Fugan.
Here.
Senator Gibson.
Here.
Senator James.
Here.
Senator Khan.
Here.
Senator Kimball. Excused. Senator King. Senator Laughlin.
Here.
Senator Martin.
Here.
Senator Maddox. Senator Morgan.
Here.
Senator Senator Newfield.
Here.
Senator Peel.
Here.
Senator Prakash. Senator Rivera. Present. Senator Rodriguez.
He's here. But not at the moment.
Senator Wang. Senator Wappelhorst. Senator Webb.
Present.
Senator Wright.
Present.
And Senator Zacharias.
Present.
Quorum has been met with 21 in attendance. Simple majority is 11 votes, 2/3 majority is 14 votes, and 2/3 of the entire Senate is 20 votes. Moving into Section 3, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of last week's meeting? All right, seeing none, the minutes will be approved as is. Moving into Section 4, public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak in public forum tonight? I believe we have two groups. Is anyone from the African Caribbean Student Association here? Come on up. Are you going to tell them? Okay. And you'll have 3 minutes for speaking, okay?
My name is Victoria, and I'm the president of the African and Caribbean Student Association. Together, I have Chris.
Hi.
Yeah, so I'm just going to be talking about the organization. The African and Caribbean Student purpose is to promote unity, cooperation, social, cultural, and educational aspiration among African and Caribbean students, and the diversity among students of Wichita State University. Our purpose also is to build a positive change on campus through service, leadership, development, community among students and faculty. So presently we have a couple of events we're planning. The first one is the African Ball. Last semester we had the African Night, which was successful. We had food, we had a lot of people come. We planned for 120 people, and we had like over 150 people come. There was food, there was engagement, there was presentation, fashion show, and all of the African stuff, just to show the African culture. This semester we're planning the African Ball, and we're planning to make it a lot more bigger than the African Night. We're planning for a lot more people and a lot more engagement. This semester we're planning to have like a fair. There's going to be games, African food, print, and all of the African stuff, just to show more of our culture on campus, and to build that cultural awareness, and also to promote diversity on campus. Thank you.
Would you like to take any questions?
Yeah.
Yes. Are there any questions for the speaker at this time? Senator Laughlin?
In your organization, it sounds like you guys just want to do sort of event-style work. Do you have any like outreach ideas for your organization, or is it just like events right now?
Yeah, that's one of the purpose of this event, also to create awareness. That there is an African organization, so that way people know that they're not alone, and that way they can feel the support from other African students too. Yes, that's one of the purpose of this event, and we feel like this is gonna be one of the ways to reach out to other students on campus, because it's gonna be big, and that way every other person hears about the event.
And just as a reminder to senators that these people are speaking here for an AUX funding request, so that's what this is for. Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for speaking.
Thank you.
I believe we have a representative from Student Activities Council to speak as well.
Hello, everybody. Great to see you all again. I'm here on behalf of the Student Activities Council. I am the Family and Commuter Chairperson for the organization. We are requesting $5,000 through auxiliary funding to fund our upcoming Family Carnival event, which is on April 20th. This is our 26th annual Family Carnival. So this is a much anticipated Wichita State tradition where we are asking for additional funding. Basically, the Student Activities Council puts on events. They're student-run, student-organized events, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions? Senator Zacharias?
So I am a first year, and I was just wondering a little bit about the activities that go on at the event. I see that there's going to be a petting zoo, inflatables, and I was specifically wondering the $250 that's going to be allocated to the physical plant.
That I'm pretty sure that is to reserve the space that we have for the event, and which is located on the Airbus lawn and near the food truck plaza. I believe that's what that funding is for, because we have to contract it and reserve it.
Senator Balderrama?
What has like the attendance been in the past for this event?
For this event specifically, I don't believe the exact numbers on my document, but for last semester, I've only been in this position since the fall, so I'll just speak to my personal experience with the event from the fall, which was Trunk or Treat, and that event we had anticipated about 500 people, because that was what we had got before, but we actually had about 1,700 people come in attendance for Trunk or Treat in the fall, and so we're expecting that, if not more than that, for this event.
Are there any other questions? Senator Morgan?
What kind of inflatables will be present?
If I had it, I could probably show you, but we have if I could say off the top of my head, an 18-inch dual-lane slide, so that is a tall double-lane slide. It's jungle-themed, and this is fun for all ages, but it's more for kids and family style. So there's a huge inflatable tiger that you jump on its belly, and there's obstacle courses, other fun things.
Senator Brumley?
Where do the fees normally come from? Because it's a traditional event.
Yes, so our organization is funded through student fees. We have multiple different chairpersons which all have individual budgets that is allocated specific to the events that they run. So right now I believe my budget is $8,950 annually, so that includes our fall trunk or treat, which we spent about $5,000 on last semester. That's why we're requesting the same amount for this, because they're sister events basically. So we have a budget for it. It's just that the increase of a number of attendance hasn't really adjusted in our overall budget, because the $8,950 covers those 2 large events and 5 to 7 additional events that we use throughout the semester.
Senator Laughlin?
Is this a free event to the public?
Yes, so it's free, but we do have tickets available for the higher cost activities in the event, like the inflatables and the petting zoo and things like that are a larger cost. So it's free to low cost, and our aim is to provide for low-income families in the area.
Senator Zacharias?
You might have already stated this, but do you already have a date for this event?
Yes, it's Saturday, April 20th from 1 to 4 p.m.
Are there any other questions for the speaker at this time? All right, thank you for speaking.
Yep.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in public forum tonight? All right, seeing none, we will now move into Section 5, Officer Reports. Item A, the chair now recognizes President Rowell for the reading of their report.
Alrighty, so I had a conference call this week with SAC, which is not to be confused with Student Activities Council. It's the KBOR Student Presidents Group. So what we mainly discussed was student fees across the KBOR institutions. It seems like the highest increase is going to be around 3.11%. I can't remember exactly what institution that was, but that's also up in the air for other institutions. It seems like most of the institutions are in the process of getting their fees process done within the month. We also discussed the Washburn, Kansas SGA conference. This is, I think, March 23rd and 24th. Due to the timing and the cost, WSU will not be attending. We talked about it as a cabinet, and I talked about it with the advisors, and it just seems interesting to have a SGA conference when we're only going to be in office for another 4 weeks. They invited the candidates to come, but it's $20 per person, and SGA, I don't think that we really want to spend upwards of $500 to go to a 2-day conference. Moving into my next point, we have student fees meetings this week. Today went really, really well. This is a new way that we're doing student fees. I thought the questions were great. It was really good to see all of the student involvement within student fees, so I'm very excited about this new format. We also had an ad hoc committee this week. Again, it went really well. The committee has been making great strides on the Constitution, which you guys will see tonight, and we're also currently working on the bylaws. I'll let Matt go into the specifics on that, but I will stand for any questions if there are any.
Senator Laughlin?
Hey. I had 2, but I'll start with, do you know our specific percentage for fee increase?
We do not, so that will be decided on the 18th during deliberations.
Okay,
Yes.
and then am I good to ask my second one? Okay. Why on the Washburn SGA conference? I guess I don't understand like what happens there and like why we would be
So this
pursuing
is
that.
going to be their first event. So what they really want to do is bring all of the SGAs across campus or across the state together to talk about what are some of the good SGA policies around the campus and really act as like a learning experience. In my opinion, I think this would be a better use of time for the next session. I think it's a great idea, and I really hope that they continue doing this. But I think the timing of it is really quite unfortunate because there's not a lot you can do when you learn something and you only have like 4 weeks left in office. So I really wish that they had considered all of the university's election cycles. I think they'll have their new student body president for transition, but a lot of us won't. So yeah.
Senator Zacharias?
Do you have any updates on the general education revision?
Not yet. So the meeting is this week, and that gives me a good point. I won't be able to attend the general education revision meeting this week due to student fees. If there is one of you lovely senators who would like to attend in my stead, you wouldn't have a vote, but it would be really important for student voices to be on that. I think Senator Berth and Senator Webb are working on a student proposal for general education. So my plan was to bring whatever they were working on to the committee this week. So if anyone, please, if you could, Senator Balzer, is that a yes?
When is it again?
So it's this Friday at 2. So you're on the student fees committee as well, so you're not able
right.
to attend, yeah. So if anyone not on student fees is able to attend, let me know after the meeting.
Are there any other questions for the President's report? All right, seeing none, we will now move into item B, the interim Vice President's report. So this week I worked with the ad hoc committee. That was kind of like where most of my work went. Not only was I in the committee meeting, but I also had meetings with Senators Mounts and Gibson about working on stuff outside of the committee itself to try and make progress there. And we have a lot more to work on and discuss when it comes to that bill. So that's something that I'm going to be addressing, like when the bill comes around for its first read on the agenda. I'll go into more detail about kind of where we're at and give you guys a progress report. I was at the student fees committee meeting as well. And the next thing that I have has to do with R-61-009. I don't know, can you guys like show with like like your heads, just like, have I talked about this at this meeting yet? I know that I've talked about it with you, Isaac, but have I?
Is this the one about Laura Kelly?
With the Laura Kelly resolution?
You did it last meeting.
Yeah, okay. So that's something that I'm working on getting it sent out. I've sent it out to all of the people but Laura Kelly herself, and I just like tomorrow, that's the first thing I'm going to do when I get in the office is like type up the thing that I'm going to send. Her inbox doesn't have like an email address, so I'm going to have to physically mail it to her, and I'll let you guys know what we get back from that. And then other than that, I've just been working on like SGA paperwork, getting caught up on like making sure all of our ledge is scanned and signed and recorded for whenever we make our journal at the end of the session. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move into item C. The chair now recognizes Treasurer Yang for the reading of their report.
Okay, so a few things. First of all, sorry I have all this food up here. I haven't eaten all day because I've been in meetings, so you're just going to have to stare at it for a little bit. But first, so student fees, like everyone has said, we've all attended, and I invite more senators to attend. Today, there were senators already on the committee, so they were there. But other than that, I believe there were only 2 senators that were sitting in the gallery. They are open meetings. We encourage you all to attend. I think that as senators, you all understand how hard it is when people don't come to Senate meetings and you want to talk to them about what's going on. You have to relay all of that information. They can't ask good questions because they're not sitting here listening to it while it's happening. So as senators, I think we should all understand the importance that you should be attending these student fees meetings if possible. Tomorrow is a little bit shorter. It's 1 to 1:45 because of my class schedule. So if you can't make the 45-minute window, I understand. However, Friday will be longer. I believe it's from 1 to 3 or 1 to 2:30. I listed it in the Discord. And on top of that, the Monday deliberations are going to be even longer than that. So please come to those meetings. Second of all, if you absolutely cannot make it to those meetings because of class schedule or work, I uploaded both parts of the binder to the Discord. I think we're working on uploading it to the website, but it is on the Discord, so it's part 1 and there's part 2. If you have any questions, feel free to ask your representative, your respective representative. Alternatively, you can ask any of the cabinet members. If we don't have the answers for you, then what I'm planning on doing for the committee already is compiling a list of questions and then sending it to the budget officer or the presenter, and then the presenter will get back to me with their questions, and I can distribute that to SGA as well. But if you all, I'm sure you all have questions that the committee hasn't touched yet, so feel free to, ask us those questions. And so the Budget and Finance Committee listened to its last round of hearings last week. Continuing on, what the Budget and Finance Committee will do is transition into auxiliary funding, and on top of that, review the journal. So I mentioned this last week, but if anyone has any issues with the funding process, or if they really like some aspects of the funding process, it's as simple as sending me a message on Discord. We don't have to have a lengthy talk about it. Fourth and finally, more about student fees. I have office hours, so if anyone wants to come in and just chat about what's happened, then that's fine too. if you can't make the meetings, if you're not understanding what's in the binder, then come into my office, we'll sit down and we'll just talk about, the different organizations and agencies that have presented, and hopefully I can answer some questions.
Are there any questions for the Treasurer's report at this time? All right, seeing none, we will move into Section 6, Other Reports. Item A, the Chair now recognizes Director of Public Relations Martin for the reading of their report.
All right, good evening, everyone. We have the banquet coming up. I probably mentioned this next week, but it's pretty important. Probably mentioned this last week, but it's pretty important. I'm looking for suggestions for Senator Awards to hand out at the banquet. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. Again, that'll be April 26th at 6 p.m. in the Marcus Welcome Center. We're inviting senators who have served at least one whole semester, or those who were appointed during this semester and are still serving at the time of the banquet. And then we'll also invite people like Johnny, our office manager, our shocker support locker assistants, certain members of the administration, advisors. And I need to lean closer into my microphone, apparently. Student fees graphics are underway. That's quite the process. We have a lot of moving parts, and if you find any errors on the graphics or on the website, please let me know. I appreciate those of you who have let me know this week so far. We're working on the website. We're going to get it done. Website pictures for Senate are fully updated for the first time in 3 months. Please take a look. Happy to have that out of the way. We have a scholarship meeting on Friday from 10 to 11:15 a.m. We're making progress on those. Senator Amy Huser came in last week to meet with me about that, and she's made her recommendations. So we're making progress on that. And finally, for our student advocate, I want to remind you that Food for Fines is going on right now. And we've taken 1 cartload of food to the shocker support locker today, and there will certainly be another, maybe 2 in the future. Please remind your people that that's happening this month and next month, and maybe even the month after. So that's all. I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for the DPR's report? All right, seeing none, we move into item B. The chair now recognizes Academics Chair Rivera for the reading of their report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let's see, it's only a couple things on the report for today. So I attended the student fees meeting today. That's really important. We got to know what's going on so we can report back to our constituents and get what they're feeling and then report that to the representatives on the committee, right? So I would encourage all of you to attend if you can in the next 2 days. It's really important that you know what's going on. And if you can't attend, to get the meeting minutes or find a way to get that information, because it's all really important. And also encourage your constituents to attend as well, because they all pay student fees as much as we do, so they should definitely be invested in what their money is going to, right? So you should attend, encourage your constituents to attend. We have another academic appeal coming up. I think it's going to be the week we come back from spring break. Actually, most likely it'll be that week, so we're running out of time. But that's coming up. And then the one last thing that I had on my report was the referendum. Just remember that, if you haven't seen, the referendum didn't pass. So remember that the students have spoken, and now we have to figure out what's next. How do we move forward from what was originally the plan? So get out to your constituencies and figure out what they're thinking, figure out why people voted no, and see what we can do next, because that's kind of a part of our job, is when we are wrong about, I guess not we, it wasn't an SGA thing, but when we're, maybe things don't turn out the way we thought they would, then we got to figure out why, and what's the rationale behind that. So keep that in mind as you go throughout the rest of this session and even the next session when things come up. Kind of figure out what your constituency is feeling, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. With that, I'll take any questions, comments, or concerns that anybody has.
Are there any questions for the chair's report at this time? All right, seeing none, we move into item C. The chair now recognizes Diversity Task Force Chair Brumley for the reading of their report.
happy Senate meeting, everybody. I only have 3 things on my list today. So the first one is a little Inspire dinner update about what DTF is planning with that. So today we decided that we only want to invite upperclassmen from the high schools. We just think it'd be more applicable. Freshmen are probably just now entering leadership within their own high school and probably are not comfortable enough to start thinking about leadership within the collegiate level, which brings me to point 2 if that's going to be our goal. Really showing like what collegiate leadership is, specifically with SGA, and then having conversations about other orgs we're a part of, because I would say 80% of us are in student organizations besides SGA, whether that's Greek Life or Black Student Union or going through some other program. So that will be our focus there, and then we've decided to stray away from doing a presentation. We think it should be a lot more like connectivity. We want people, the upperclassmen, I think it's really helpful when you know leaders on this campus. It inspires you to become a leader on this campus once you're here. So if you're like, wow, I talked to Cameron Morgan at this dinner, he's awesome in SGA and BSU, I can't wait to do the same things when I get there. That's what we want. That should be our goal. And that doesn't necessarily happen from Cameron going up here saying, okay, slide 2, this is FAFSA. You know, that's just, how can we be intentional about that? So it's going to be a lot more like just sit down with these students, eat dinner with them, talk about your experience, and then we'll do a panel at the end, maybe the last 10 minutes just for overarching questions, or I think we did some fun ones last year as well. We're thinking that we will get you guys a kind of like a bullet point list of please talk about these things with your students. You don't have to like recite any sentences or be like, well, in SGA students come first. Like, you don't have to do that. We're just saying make sure you hit on these subjects, giving a guideline of what the outcome of those conversations should be. And I think that's all I have on that for now. I got an email this week from a gentleman named Norris Gillett, and he is wanting to reach out to SGA about writing legislation about him for being the first African American on the Budget and Finance Committee. So he is going to meet with me through a phone call. He doesn't actually live in Kansas. So we're going to be having a conversation this week about what the situation is. He said like that legislation at one point existed and then never got brought to the floor. So I'll have an update for you when that has something to update about, because there's just not a lot of information about it, but that's something I've been working on this week. And then the last one is that I did attend student fees today. Student affairs was there, which ODI is under. And I believe the only increase that they are asking for is in regards to a salary, and that is for the LGBTQ coordinator, Brad Thomason. And so there's been a lot of like changes within the ODI, like his office has changed. There's more programs that he's doing. If you guys have been on Facebook at all, I'm sure you can find a Facebook event that you've been invited to directly from Brad. So he's doing a lot of good work there. And I just wanted to have an understanding of what they were asking about, as all of you should as well. So with that, I stand for questions.
Senator Zacharias.
Do you have a date for the Inspire dinner yet?
I don't, but that will be my project this week.
Are there any other questions for the chair's report at this time? Seeing none, we move into item D. The chair now recognizes Safety and Student Services Chair Enns for the reading of their report.
Okay, hi everybody. So I actually have dates for you all now on lots of things that we're doing, so that's exciting. So the first thing is we are working on our tobacco legislation like we've been talking about. That is something that is expected to be brought to the floor our next meeting, so keep a lookout for that. That's just going to be focusing on educational resources, making sure that, you know, that tobacco policy, that vape policy is something that is going to be in things that students are already seeing, so that way we are not we're not worrying so much about doing mandatory trainings that are separate or anything, just something that we currently have. So we're working on that right now. We're going to be tabling on Friday, the Friday after spring break. I don't have the date for that yet. Actually, I have to look that up on my calendar. That's sad. But I do have that coming up the Friday after spring break. It's going to be from 11 to 1 downstairs in the RSC, so keep a lookout for that. And that's just going to be on the educational portion of it. Other than that, we are working on Coffee with the Cop, so we are looking at making that more than a one-day event. That's going to be hopefully a two-day event, depending on if the police department is responsive to that, was willing to work with us on that. That's really exciting. So we're planning on doing that downstairs in the Starbucks and just having a nice, communal space open for students to talk with their police officers. So that is really exciting. We're looking at the 27th and the 28th from 10 a.m. to noon. And we are contacting both the police department and the police academy currently, so we're waiting to hear back from them on all of those. So that is what we're mostly working on in our committee. We're just trying to do the stuff that we have well until the end of the session. So I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for the chair's report at this time? All right, seeing none, we move into Section 7, Appointments. Item A, SB-61-075, appointing Senate Committee Member.
So Senator Gibson was not appointed to a committee just in the midst of everything that went on a few weeks ago. So we're amending that and putting her on a committee. So sorry, Senator Gibson, for taking this long.
Are there any questions for the author at this time? All right, seeing none, we will now be moving into the debating period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate? Senator Enns.
Yeah, so she was at our committee meeting today, and she does an awesome job, has a lot to contribute, so I'm very happy to have her on my committee. I just wanted to say that.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate on this bill? Seeing none, we will now be moving into the voting period. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. SB-61-075 has passed by a majority vote of the Senate. Moving into Section 9, New Business, Item A, SB-61-076, the Constitution Readjustment Act. If you have a better name, I'd love to hear recommendations, but that's what we have for now. So just to give you kind of like a report as to where the ad hoc committee is at with regard to this bill, because this is the ad hoc committee bill. So the things that we're wanting to work on, and some of this you've heard from me before, is permanent and temporary secession of the executive, like president, vice president officers, right? We noticed that, so we're moving from the Constitution to the bylaws, the ability of the president to call like a special session within 24 hours. And that's actually so currently in the bill, if you look at Action 4, is where that is listed. But also in Action 4 is listed, it basically says that if you don't meet quorum, that the president can, in good faith, like call a session to just like have the meeting anyways, and that the power of the Senate is just vested in the president and all of the senators present when that happens. We looked at that and we thought that that was kind of dumb because it like completely defeats the point of having quorum to begin with. So we're just going to leave that off when we take it out of the Constitution. We're not putting it back into the bylaws anywhere. Another thing that we're probably going to take off is there's a bit in the Constitution about association secretaries. That's kind of an outdated piece of legislation because we don't have like secretaries in our office. We just have our office manager who, you know, is mentioned in the journal, but like provisions for having an office manager is done through university policies, not through like our own Constitution. So that part of the journal just isn't really pertinent to SGA as it looks today, so we're just going to take that out. One thing that has been talked about is like a provision for senators to be able to put an officer on probation without having to like take them to Senate review boards. So that way, like, so for example, if we have a situation like happened like a few weeks ago, instead of having to worry about not having a president in that moment, you could like, or not being able to get a specific piece of legislation passed because your president, you know, there was some sort of issue that you had with your president, you could, you know, put the officer on like suspension basically temporarily, and there's a lot of discussion that's going to need to be had as far as like how that looks, because that's obviously like a big thing that can be done. But the idea is to give senators the ability to do that temporarily so that like an investigation can be had or whatever else needs to occur, you know, before a final decision is made with regard to like what to do regarding that officer. It's obviously a very situational thing. There's a lot of discussion to be had, but it's something that we're going to be looking into in the committee. And so the last two things is the president cannot veto Senate resolutions. We thought that this was an important thing to do, not only because you know, the resolution that was being written earlier wouldn't have been able to be passed, but also because resolutions are an expression of the will or intent of the Senate, so it doesn't really make sense for the president to like give the approval on those. And finally, we're keeping like all the vote totals for everything in the Constitution. We're not moving those at all. So currently in the bill, we have no veto on resolutions already in the bill, and we have we've taken the succession out of the Constitution, and we're going to put those into the bylaws. And then we have getting rid of the president calling a special session in the Constitution, and we're going to put those into the bylaws. So, but we still obviously have a lot more to put into the bill. The plan right now is that we're going to still meet in committee, and we're going to come back with an amendment that amends this bill that we have on the floor right now. That's kind of weird. The reason we're doing it like this is because we need the first read to happen this meeting, because if it doesn't, then we're going to be too late to pass it to get it on the Election Commission's deadline for a constitutional amendment. So then all of this will have to like happen next year, and it won't happen until like the end of the 60-second session, which we obviously don't want. We want these changes to be able to take effect as quickly as possible. So even though that's a little bit non-traditional, that's kind of the way that we're doing it right now, and we're going to be keeping you up to date as we make these meetings so that you all have the most up-to-date information. That being said, are there any questions? Senator Laughlin.
On the secretary part, how long has it been since we've had like secretaries in the office?
I do not know. Can the advisors perhaps shed light on this at all?
So Johnny, their current office manager, was hired about a year and a half ago. And so that's as long as we've had one there. And they've been various other people beforehand, but the term association secretary hasn't existed for a while. We've always had either administrative assistant or the office manager, but Johnny in her role has been here for about a year and a half. And we've changed the title of it before.
Yeah, so when we hired Johnny, because the student government was without an admin for almost a year, and so when we hired Johnny, when we became student involvement with student involvement, and we hired Johnny, we changed her position to accurately describe what she's doing, because admin is kind of an antiquated term, and so we wanted to update the term to truly reflect what the position did and not use an admin, since that's kind of an older term.
Okay.
Senator Fugit.
I guess this kind of feeds off the other one, but did this term secretary in the journal refer to a hired paid position, or did it refer to a secretary of the association, which is completely different?
I don't know for sure off the top of my head whether or not it did refer to a hired paid position. I can make a note of it and then get back to you on Discord. Oh.
Yeah, it was for having someone at our front desk as employee of the student government, not a student position, but it's always been like some sort of part-time, full-time position. It just hasn't changed its name in the journal when we changed the name internally. The concept of the position has always been a full-time employee or a part-time employee, never like we typically think of it a student secretary or secretary for the association.
Senator Zacharias.
I'm looking at the secession procedure that you guys want to strike the part where, the secession procedure. So I was just wondering what the new secession procedure would be.
Right, so we haven't actually had discussions about what we want that to look like. So, I mean, until we come to a new conclusion, we're just going to have the same procedure, but like better outlined and specified as to what it looks like and then placed in the bylaws. So like at the very least, that's what it'll be. But if we meet in committee and we're like, yeah, no, this is what the secession procedure should look like, then that's what we'll do. We'll put that, like, we'll have that instead of the other one. And we'll make sure, like, instead of waiting for the bill to come out, like, as soon as we know what different things are going to look like at the end of our committee meeting, we'll send out a message on Discord saying, like, hey, everyone, just so that you know, this is what we've talked about, and this is what it's going to look like. So that way you're as informed as early as possible about what we're writing. Are there any other questions? Senator Fugit?
About the first one, the striking about the Senate resolutions, I'm going to make this oblique on purpose. Was the events at the end of the 59th session taken into consideration when writing this one?
I don't think it was, and I don't have the historical context to actually answer that one, but I'm pretty sure we were just specifically talking about the most recent resolution that was going to be written and thinking about how it doesn't really make sense for the president to have a veto on a resolution to begin with. Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will be moving into debate on this bill next meeting, so in 2 weeks. Moving into item B, FB-61-043, individual funding request. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
Yes. Okay, so Adam Armijo is our last individual funding request. He requested $570 to attend the Games User Research / Experience Conference, and this focuses on players' psychology and their behavior during video gaming. He's a PhD student, and specifically his research has to deal with the cognitive abilities of esports gamers. He said before that typically, people study traditional sports way more often, so breaking into the esports is new research that hasn't really been well developed. So he's really excited about having doing research on like a new industry. So his research deals with different things like eye tracking, and what this does is it helps game developers know when they're designing a game what people should be focusing on. Additionally, he has 2 goals for his research. He wants to know how gamer expertise is used, and second, how to design a game for a competitive environment. Additionally, he works with the Wichita Esports Club on campus, and he works with them as an analyst, and he tracks data to see how they perform. And unfortunately, the esports team is unable to help fund his specific research and for him to go to this conference. So that's why he's asking for individual funding from us today.
Are there any questions for the author at this time? Okay, in that case, seeing none, we will now be moving into the debating period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate, or do you have a motion?
Motion to change the allocated as of February 19th, 2019 to the current date. Yep, March 6th, yeah.
Are there any objections to that change? Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate on this bill? Senator Balzer?
So esports is it's a huge new field. It's booming all the time. I'm going to be voting in favor of this bill. So with over $1 billion in potential revenue, that's only growing. And this kind of sudden rise makes it pivotal to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. So with WSU beginning to develop a new organization and their individuals needing temporary assistance, proper funding can help jumpstart WSU as a state leader in esports, and that can only help further distinguish us as a potential college for incoming students. A lot of incoming students are going to be asking about esports, and there already are, and helping fund this and help see where we can go is going to be a super big boon to a lot of students.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? All right, seeing none, we will move into the voting period. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. FB-61-043 has passed by a majority vote of the Senate. Moving into item B, FB-61-044, organizational funding request. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
Okay, so I'm going to be taking meeting minutes as well, so sorry if it's a little choppy whenever you ask questions. But the first one that's up is the future healthcare professionals. And actually, if Janet would like to speak to this, because she's the president of the org, so.
Yeah, so we're wanting to make what are called scent circles. And scent circles are fleece fabric circles that are the size of a CD, and they're used to promote chemosensory development of the brain for premature and ill infants. So essentially what happens is when a baby is like premature or they're particularly ill, they're placed in the NICU, and so contact time between the parent and the baby is strictly limited by the doctor. And so these scent circles are placed on the mother's breast to take up her scent, and then they're placed in the NICU with the baby so that it can kind of help bridge that lack of interaction and to promote the bonding of the mother and the child so that when the baby finally gets out, they can, readjust to like their mother better. So yeah, we're going to be using that to make those for the babies.
And continuing off of that, the reason that we're allocating the way we are is because we want to fully fund the fleece fabric. However, the fleece materials is scissors, so we felt like they could find the scissors in different offices or in their home or something like that. So we just wanted to fund the fleece fabric. So for the next group, we have the Shocker Sociology Club, and they are hosting an event featuring a guest speaker, Dr. Monique Morris, and this is for their conference that they're hosting here, which is the 2019 Gender and Sexuality Conference. The Shocker Sociology Club is working with the sociology department and different members or different departments in the LAS college to help fund the conference and to help fund the speakers. However, the speaker does charge a $6,000 fee, and this $6,000 is all inclusive. So this includes lodging, it includes per diem, it includes transportation here. So they're just asking for some assistance with that. The reason that we're not funding the full $1,000 is because we only have the $700 some left in org funding, so they kind of just have to get whatever we have left.
Are there any questions for the author at this time? All right, seeing none, we will now move into the debating period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate? Senator Balzer.
I'm going to be voting in favor of this bill. I think there's not much for me to say about Janet. About what Janet's done, but I think it's a really great concept and it can strengthen our connections to the community around us. So for Shelby's, the Shocker Sociology, it's a very highly marketed event. There's a lot of work and sponsors between colleges that make it affect a ton of students just in general. I think Elliott's involved, ODI's involved, Women's Studies, Provost, LAS, and Sociology, they're all involved. Plus there's even Greek life too with Alpha Kappa Delta. So I think it'd be a great boon for all the students and help further their dedicated strengths in the world around us and really help us really just accentuate their power here.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate?
Just a point of information. Will this drain our funding? I just see $0 up there, so is this like the last of our funding for this? Okay.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate? Senator Zacharias.
I'm not completely involved with this organization, the Shocker Sociology Club, but I have interacted with them a bit. I don't know where that's. Anyway, they're an amazing organization. They're graduate students, undergraduate students, professors, and it's just a great way to bring all types of WSU students together. So I will be voting in favor, and I believe that this is an amazing thing to happen on campus because it's also going to bring in community members.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? All right, seeing none, we will now move into the voting period. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. FB-61-044 has passed by a majority vote of the Senate. Moving into item D, FB-61-045, auxiliary funding request. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
So these groups already spoke to us in public forum, but just a few clarification points. For the African Caribbean Student Association, MMA stands for Mr. and Miss Africa, which is the event that they're hosting for like a pageant type event. And then the ADCN is African Dance Night. So unfortunately it was too long to fit into the Excel spreadsheet. For the Student Activities Council, there was a question about physical plant. That also includes tables that they have to pay for whenever they're requesting like equipment for physical plant. So tables and chairs and other materials that they'll need for like the infrastructure for that event. Overall, the only differences that you might see is in the other materials section for the Mr. and Miss Africa African Caribbean Student Association event. The reason for this is they were very specific with their budget, but we wanted to include just a little bit more for like tax purposes if they didn't include enough money to account for taxes or shipping for any of their costs.
Are there any questions for the author at this time? Senator Rivera?
Yeah, can we, or do you have the number of auxiliary funding that is still currently in the account? Is that in the account or amount allocated?
No, sorry. So that's the amount that's been allocated. Shelby, press enter. Press enter, and then Control Z. There we go. So I'll just do some quick math right here. Hold on, Gabe's flashing numbers at me, but it's 96 minus 31. It's about 65. Yeah, about 65,000 left in the account. The reason that number is not always definite is sometimes we realize that we're short in somewhere else, so we pull from auxiliary funds, because auxiliary funds isn't just for RSOs and student fees funded groups. It's also for different office expenditures that we might need to pull from.
Senator Rivera?
Yeah, so with student fees coming up, is there anything in the budget now that we anticipate getting swept into reserves?
So I'm going to say that this isn't a question pertinent to this specific funding bill, but we can answer it later, if that's okay.
Are there any other questions for the author at this time? All right, seeing none, we will now be moving into the debating period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate? Senator Balzer?
In a massive twist that no one saw coming, I'm going to be voting yes on this bill. And I think both these organizations have talked really well, so I just want to give a slightly different viewpoint of how it's been like working with them. African Caribbean Student Association specifically, that organization, they came to us some time ago, maybe a month or two back, with the concepts of this plan, but we asked them to come back after they did some more planning and the revising of their goals, and they did so, and they went above and beyond in doing so. They've done super great work, and I think it speaks to their ability and maturity that they're willing to go back to the drawing board and give it another honest shot, and I think it's a really good product that they have right now. And SAC has been having some remarkable growth over the past couple of years, being able to have both a connection to the young folks in our community, like the kids. It's a great volunteer opportunity for all our college students, and otherwise rewarding organizations that put a lot of work and time and effort into these groups. I think helping them make quality events that benefits everyone here is only a great thing to do.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? Senator Ale?
Just to add on to what Senator Balzer said, I too will be voting in favor of this. I've been heavily engaged with the African Caribbean Student Association for almost 2 years, and I've seen this organization grow. I used to be the outreach here in this organization, and to know how this organization has helped a lot of African students on campus by bringing them together, as well as also being, one of the platforms that can be used to bring the African community together, not just in Wichita State University, but also the Wichita community in general. I think that's very plausible, and I do hope everyone else in this room gets to vote in favor of that.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? Seeing none, we will now move into the voting period. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. FB-61-045 has passed by a majority vote of the Senate. Moving into Section 11, Remarks and Announcements, is there anyone wishing to speak in remarks and announcements? Senator Brumley.
Go to a student fees hearing. It's super easy. You just sit there and listen. And I think that's like our job is to sit and listen. So you should do that. Also, it's senator hours, which you have to do. So do that. Thank you.
Is there Senator Laughlin?
Spring break is coming up, so the mom in me tells you to be careful and be safe on your spring break in your travels and in your activities. Just want to make sure that we're all coming back safely from spring break. So, yeah, just want to make sure everybody's thinking about their safety while they're out and about. And if you need to, always have a buddy with you when you go places, and always be cognizant of your drink. So, thank you.
Senator Balderrama.
Hi. So on April 13th, that is a Saturday, the city of Wichita, along with Via Christi, WSU, and Newman, is hosting what's called Medical Mission at Home. So it's basically a day of free healthcare. This is like the 3rd annual one. So it's open to anyone in the general Wichita public. Like, you show up and you don't have to show proof of anything, insurance or anything. And so it's from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so they're looking for lots of volunteers. You don't have to stay the whole time. You can do like a couple hours, or if you want to stay the whole time, you can. Or if you just need free health care, they have everything like from dental care to they'll do physical exams and diagnosis, laboratory stuff. They'll do they do prescription fillings, and they have mental health screenings as well. So if you looking to give back to the community, you can sign up for that. I'll put the link in the Discord so you can decide if you want to. When you sign up, though, there's not a specific time slot, so if you can only be there for a little bit, just put it in the comments, like, I can only volunteer from this time to that time. But yeah, and tell everybody about it, because free healthcare. April 13th.
Gabe.
All right, so tomorrow at 1 p.m., we're going to do what's called a conversation circle. So we realize with the referendum failing, there may be some students who are having some feelings about that. And so our lovely Dr. Austin here is going to lead those discussions. So if you have friends or whoever just wants to come process, please, we encourage you, 1 p.m. tomorrow, 256. I put it in the Discord already, so it's there and available for you all. Secondly, Matt Belisai is tomorrow, 7 p.m. over in the Metroplex. There's tickets still available, so please grab your friends. They're only $5, folks. Really cheap entertainment for a nationally known comedian. So please come tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, Metroplex.
Also, this is an exciting year because we are hosting the 10th annual Shock the Yard Step Show on April 27th, 2019 in the Charles Koch Arena. Tickets are now on sale. It is going to be hosted by Mr. Bankshot, who is like awesome. So tickets are $10. They're being sold online, also out of student involvement, and we will be tabling after spring break. We are accepting cash, card, and check options. Thank you.
Senator Enns.
Yeah, guys, so I just heard back from a couple places this week, and I have 2 art shows coming up, actually. So there's going to be one in April at the Donut Hole, and then another one, hopefully, in June at Fairmount Coffee. So keep a lookout for those. Maybe buy some art, give me money, support me, my life, Okay, bye.
Senator James.
I had a question for Gabe. for the Step Show, where can you purchase tickets?
You can purchase them in student involvement, or you can go to www.wichita.edu/Step tickets, and they're being sold out of Coke Arena as well. So you can buy them online too if you don't want to buy them in person. 27th, April 27th at 7 p.m. in the Charles Coke Arena. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in remarks and announcements? Senator Berth.
All right, so I know I've already beaten this one to death a little bit. Not quite all the way, though. So March 21st, right when we come back, it's that first Thursday after the break, student veterans are holding a barbecue. We have a few dishes, but we would like some more to be submitted. One of them, it will be mine. I will bring a ton of sides for non-meat eaters. Sorry, I don't know how to barbecue vegetables. But I will make sure there's something else there. Appreciate it.
Oh, fine.
I forgot one more thing. I also want to just remind everyone, I'll probably keep reminding you for the next few weeks, because we are in the middle of election season, and many of you in this room are running for office or running for re-election or election for office. I just want to remind you all that as senators, or cabinet members, that it is not appropriate to quote-unquote campaign on the floor of the Senate, because that is not the space to do that. The Elections Commission has kind of reviewed the rules that govern kind of active SGA officers, and we are defining that as when Senate is in session, so at 7 p.m. until 9:30, that you are not to be campaigning or presenting yourself as if you were running for office, because you have an obligation to be a senator or a cabinet member first before running for office. So just keep that in mind. Also, additionally, that when you're in the student government office, you are not allowed to do anything relating to elections using the printers or computers or anything like that, because all that stuff belongs to the student government, and you're not allowed to use any of those for your own campaigns. So that's just a reminder for everyone in here who is running for office.
Senator Balzer, did you still have something?
Not anymore.
Okay, Senator Ale.
Okay, I guess it's that time of the semester when Interfest is about to take place, and International Student Union is recruiting people, vendors, who are willing to put out dishes from their country. We're welcoming everyone. You can come as a sorority or fraternity organization, or just come by yourself to be a vendor. If you're interested, please message me, and I can always give you further instructions on how to go about that. Interfest will be on the 27th of March, which is 2 weeks after spring break, so you do have quite a lot of weeks to think about this. Thank you very much.
Senator Rivera.
Hello. So SAE's Patty Murphy Week is coming up, which is the week of the year that we raise or we specifically try to raise money for Children's Miracle Network, and raise quite a bit of money. It's over like $150,000 over the last couple years. So it's pretty big. One thing I want to highlight is Patty Palooza. So last year we had our concert on the patio. We're doing that again, and the headliners for that are names such as Tommy Newport, Max James, Super 40, Afro Jim, After Judo. So if you know any of those names, or if you just want to have a good time, it's on Friday, April 29th. I don't know what time it is because it doesn't say, but I will get them information, and I'll get you more information about what else is going on throughout the week. But plan for the 29th, that Friday, to come watch a concert. We'll probably have food, snow cone machine, to look forward to it.
Senator Martin.
On April 14th is my voice studio recital, one of the other voice studio recitals, and a freshman's showcase. I don't know the exact times, but support fine arts and message me and I'll figure that out for you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in remarks and announcements? All right. Seeing none, I haven't typically been doing a Senate quote, but President Rowell felt particularly... Senator Hours, yeah, don't forget your Senator Hours. Senator Brumley kind of already got that one covered, but anyways, President Rowell has felt particularly passionate about reading this quote tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to her.
Okay, so I'm going to read the quote and then I'm going to remind you something. This is from the illustrious Aaron Austin, Dr. Aaron Austin. This is where it gets really exciting and sexy. This is about student fees. He said this during student fees. But this is the time in SGA where it really counts. So like everyone has mentioned before, the student fees committee really matters. We need you there. We need you representing your constituents and bringing in those questions. So be there, be present. Get excited because this is a great time for SGA. And with that, I'll give it to Matt.
All right, and at that, we adjourn at 8:07 p.m. with a silent roll call.